Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. Sorry I'm late. I had to shower. I was offensive. I was offending myself. How is everybody? I'm going to nibble on a little bar. Sorry to chew. Sort of annoys me when people chew. Who's here? Say hello. So it's March 16th, 2025. Let's talk about some things that are going on in the world. If you're just waiting for me to mumble along through this. So they came out with a flu vaccine, or they decided on one. And I guess they had been worried that they couldn't because, I don't know, some kind of shenanigans. The powers that be are putting, but I wasn't even worried about that one, them not being able to come up with a flu shot. No, what are they going to do? I really got the feeling that they were going to somehow, Europe was going to have data that would have helped us out if they couldn't come up with it. And apparently they met behind closed doors with the WHO. So I wasn't very far off. Hi, Julia. How are you? Hi, Fern. There's something else I got a hit on. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, someone asked me about, because there was a couple of videos floating around. Hi, Misty, about April 20th and martial law being instated. If they can't get, I don't know, they're going to do something. But he just tried to put through as soon as I saw the executive order on some alien thing where you have to be in a state of war in order to be able to invoke it. Like as soon as I saw it come in, they're like, breaking news. Oh my God, all these horrible things are going to happen. If this happens, it's like, it got blocked. It's got some kind of, I don't know what you call it, like a 14-day thing where the judge is like, yeah, you can't do this. That's going to get knocked down. And then someone was talking about like April 20th being the martial law day. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to fly. You need to remember, like when everybody's like, this is like Germany, I want you to really remember something. First of all, we are much bigger than Germany. We have much more land. He's going to do a lot of really shitty things. I'm not saying he's not. But we are much bigger than Germany. We are also a more chaotic bunch of civilians. We don't follow orders very well. If you haven't noticed, I mean, look how crazy like the Philadelphia Eagle fans are. And our military doesn't have to follow orders, right? Our military, like they're told to stand against enemies, both foreign and domestic. So just because somebody gives them an order does not mean they have to follow it. Bottom up. So the people that are going to stand against those things are going to be the little guys. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't have temporary consequences from that, but that's kind of how it's going to happen. They have a hard enough time securing the border. You think like we have very large open, wide open spaces of borders. I don't know what they're going to do. So I just think I want you to remember, especially when you're connecting with your intuition, right? You're going to think, do I feel this in the oh shit in the middle of my stomach? Because that's where I feel like the nerves for me. And then I stop and I go, let's do some research. Let's get calm and do research, because the reality is, and I learned this actually through figuring out what my spiritual beliefs were. Like if something made me fearful and afraid, it's usually not it. It's usually not where it's at. So I just want to remind you, just like that stuff's not, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't go out there and you shouldn't call your senators and your congressmen, and you shouldn't get involved in local politics and that you shouldn't, I'm not saying just sit on your ass and just like watch Netflix all day, but pardon my French. I really feel like it doesn't mean that the judicial system hasn't done terrible things. And it doesn't mean that I agree with Chuck Schumer. So, okay, let's go on to this. Okay. Go on to that part of this, what I got intuition-wise. So Julia's been watching me a while. I don't know who else is here. Back in 2019, when he was running again and Biden was running. I got that Biden would win. I got a 2024. I was like, I can't really see this. I don't know, but I saw a man and a woman. And I was like, but I'm not really seeing like what's going to happen. I'm like, and I was going with usually Dems win. I was like, why wouldn't it be Biden? Kind of going back and forth. But 2028, I felt very strongly AOC and another woman would be in the White House. Like not just running in the White House. So I couldn't figure out how that might come about because there is so much disdain for women, really and truly. We've had 2 women run, and there is so much misogyny that people are like, oh, woman, there's just so much, honestly. So we're going to be real about that here. And let alone whenever somebody is outside the box of going with the status quo, and AOC really is vocal about, she doesn't think that people that are in Congress should be able to trade, right? They should have stuff in like a blind trust, essentially, that somebody else is trading for them. She's got a lot of unpopular, though logical for the rest of us, opinions. I mean, if you really think about it, that's like not a bad rule for anybody across the board, because it's both sides take advantage of that. And they're essentially all insider trading. And I think, what's his name? Somebody just introduced a bill to stop that from happening, and several other things, which I'm like, yeah, that all sounds like logical. Term limits on Supreme Court justices and something else. So how is it possible then the AOC would get in? I genuinely believe you look at Chuck Schumer and all these people, just piss people off, right? Making people so angry and doing such stupid things. There probably is going to be a party split. And I think what's brilliant, and my feeling is this is really what's going to help the votes for that, is that you've got Tim Walz and AOC and Bernie who are hitting all the very, very red counties and saying, talk to us, because we obviously didn't do something right. Talk to us. We're listening. And there is no, we're trying to get money from you, and there is no, we're trying to get you to vote for us. They're just listening. And that's really what people need, is to be heard. And I feel like, intuition wise, that's really going to benefit. That's really going to be what like swings us out of a lot of this, and also pushes people to go like, well, maybe AOC is not the bag. I mean, maybe it's going to be AOC and Jasmine Crockett. I know people are talking about, Kamala, but I don't think that she's going to run again. And maybe that's where the split is, and she gets picked the one way and AOC gets to pick the other. Maybe there's a 3-party, like a real third party kind of run at it. Who knows? All right. What do y'all think? How are you doing? Hit the likes and shares and subscribes and all of that stuff for the few of us that are here, and tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. It's so quiet. I feel like I'm standing in front of a classroom and it'll be just like this. No one. All right. If you guys have any of those kind of questions, you can pop them throughout the thing. If we want to do some questions, I've got Debbie, Regine, and Emily. I don't know if anybody else has a reading. Nobody else yet. You don't get much honest news there. I think really it's like, I don't watch the mainstream news at all anymore. If I catch snippets of something, I'll go and look for the actuals, like then I'll go watch the actual thing just to see what it is. Um, I don't know. And I listen to like different creators on TikTok, and like different channels. Like there's a Canadian channel I'll listen to, and like I don't know, NPR, things like that. I would love if they ran, because I think they both just say it like it is. I love Tim Walz. I think he's a great guy. He's got a really great track record. And I think it's really good that he's out there now, not campaigning, just like let's talk. And I mean, the party screwed up way back when, but Chuck Schumer's just such a unfetterman, and they're such a piece of shit. But anyway, that's just me. Personal feelings. Hi, Devery. You're trying to get your goals in line for a trip next year, but you're having a rough start. Will you be able to make the drastic move, and will it work out? This is like the images I keep getting. First of all, I feel like, yeah, but I feel like it's going to be like August and September of next year are popping up. Is that when you're planning? Listen, Misty, the reason why I was like, how would this AOC thing work out? We're so misogynistic here. And I really think they're going to fall towards people who are like really speaking truth, being authentic. I don't know. Because honestly, 2028 seems so close for something like that to change, since, there is a lot of misogyny in January. So I don't know if that you're actually, did you miss any comments about Chuck Schumer? I'll say something about that in just a minute. So I feel like, Devery, there's something about, so I don't know if I want to say this. Maybe there's something about August, September this year where things start to fall together then, because that was kind of coming up. I don't know that. I know you're trying for January. I feel like it might be just slightly later than that. And I don't know if weather plays a factor or something like that. And what's interesting is I keep seeing like, are you going to be somewhere where there's like wide open spaces? Because I keep seeing like, I feel like I'm in a more rural area. So the feeling out Japan, is it going to be a little bit more rural? Like not in a, I keep seeing like a field of grass. I think the delay might be more of a paperwork issue than a financial issue. And I think the August, September thing is like where you'll start to feel like things are coming together. So you have a few more months where it's going to feel like, oh my gosh, it's falling apart. But the other, or it's not going to happen. And maybe the August, September is where you find out that, yeah, I can move. Maybe that's like where the visa is approved, and but it just feels like it might be like the beginning of February where you go, like, so just a little bit later than January. And so one thing they said is like for you to like persist in this and wanting to do it, because it feels like really like lots and lots of excitement, and then if it doesn't fall in perfectly and happen just super easily, there's like this feeling of disappointment, and that like, oh, it's just not going to happen. And they're sort of saying, like, they're reminding me what I tell my kids all the time, regardless of what we're doing. I like when they start something new, I'm like, remember that like the first time you do something, you usually kind of suck at it. And like the more you do it, the better you get. Cause my one daughter, what did she make? Oh, she's making friendship bracelets. Like she's taking a class after school and it's for friendship bracelet making. And she's like, oh, it's like not that. Like I made it too long. Da, da, da. And I didn't say it sucked. I just said, well, remember that it's not going to be perfect the first one you do, like at all. And I said, and the more you do it, the better you get. Like the nicer, the more fancy they look, the more strings you can use, all of that stuff. So I keep seeing, and I'm going to say this, and maybe it's, hi, Regine, maybe it's like, maybe there's a park area or something right next to your building. You don't understand. I don't either. But what I'm telling you is that they're sort of saying, like, don't give up when things don't work out perfectly the very first time you go at it. So I don't know, maybe you fill out paperwork and they're like, well, this isn't right, whatever. Don't go, oh my God, it's not meant to be. Just be like, oh, Anna talked about this. I need to keep going. Or you're trying to get your finances in order and seems things like things are kind of falling through. It's like they're just sort of saying, like, keep going, don't stop. I do feel like you're going to have like a little bit of a rough adjustment period the first 6 months. Just culturally, it's going to be a bit of an adjustment. Um, but by like 8 months of being there, you're going to feel much more happy. I'm like happy you did it, but I feel like there might be some second guessing your decision when the first 6 months. But it feels like just you'll settle in. It'll be okay. Um, I feel like you're going to meet some really nice people that are very helpful and sort of show you the ropes. There's going to be an older woman too. Like, I don't know if you're renting a room from her or what, but there's going to be an older lady somehow that comes into play. Or being like a guide of somehow. All right. Chuck Schumer. What a piece of. I was listening to some guy, it was on CBC, a Canadian channel, and he was talking about how, like, it's really hard for me to believe, like, they're talking about how the Democrats and the Republicans really are part of this too. But it's like, they left office and they said how terrible, like, we better be afraid, and we're like, like, we better be prepared. And yet, like, they're not really doing anything. And then he's like, and then, I was told forever about like the environmental impact of like fossil fuels, and like we have to start taking care of the environment, and yet like no one's banning fossil fuel usage or severely limiting it. And he said, and then, we're told about like just all these different things. And he's like, and like nobody's doing anything. And Chuck Schumer is a part of that. Like they're all a part of this old guard that really and truly, if they were in any other line of work, would be retired right now. And I'm not trying to be ageist, but I just feel like at some point, go enjoy life. Stop. Like, you don't need to keep insider trading. How much money do you need? Like, and again, like the Republicans do it, and we know I'm very left. I vote very left. I'm probably more left than I'm on track with like AOC and Jasmine Crockett. I was thinking about what I might do is been kicking around a couple ideas of like, because I've heard people talk about, this is making me realize that I'm even offering to do this. Trump's health. We know he is not the beacon of health, but I was thinking about doing a reading on him the way I would for a client if I'm doing medical mediumship, where just like go head to toe. I think Chuck Schumer is going to get primaried. So I don't think he's going to. If he remains in that seat, it's going to be challenged and he's going to get a lot of pushback. I should. That would be a good reading. Might attract the wrong crowd. Yeah, I've gone back and forth just because I really, really hate his energy. And I'm just trying to think how I could cleanse myself of all of that afterwards. Maybe take like a bath in glass shards and crystals. Hi, go Katrina. I always want to read your name like totally different, like Goka Trina, go. No, so like here's like I know that I could. I just intentionally try to be like, no, thank you. For Elon. Again, it's just like, first of all, I just look at them, they're both sociopaths. He is not autistic. That man is a sociopath. Like, first of all, and this is like, I want you to remember this, autistic people, we research like a lot. That man hasn't researched what his project says. Like, he's just flying on ketamine and he's not really researching. Like, this, if you know autistic people that are high functioning or level 1, right? Or low support needs, however you want to call it, you know that they research before they do anything. And I don't think that man does any of that. Ketamine? Oh yeah, that man is ketamine and cocaine. It's okay, Emily. So, I don't know. So I've thought about doing that. I was looking at like actually his health, Trump's health. We'll see. I also feel like I don't want to give so much. It bothers me that people give so much energy to Elon because he's not an elected official. So like, but we're all treating him as if somehow he's like become a prime minister or something here. Like, give me a break. We'll see. I'll look into that. And I also thought about like maybe I would pull out, if you are subscribed to my email, you've seen that I've been started doing these like little card readings, and I really like the transparent tarot deck. So I might do some readings on that with them. I've gotten some interesting. I also want to do something on like on Jasmine Crockett. So instead of just focusing on the bad people, because I think when we put our energy is where it goes, right? So like I'd like to focus on a little bit on like what the helpers are doing and how do outcomes look for them, like for AOC and for Jasmine and for Bernie and for Tim Walz. Like look at kind of where things are going for them, because I think the easy thing is to focus on all the bad people and the bad stuff, but then we're just putting our energy there, right? And I'm not saying don't pay attention, but I am saying, because I'm not like a toxic positivity person, right? Like I think like it's how we know that things are bad when we see like the juxtaposition between things, right? When we see the two sides of things. But I do think we need to put a little more focus on the people that are potentially going to like not save us, because I want to remind you, it's not like one person cannot lift up an entire nation. We will have to do that as a whole, as a group. But who will listen to our voices. We want to look at the people who are actually wanting to listen to our voices and who are speaking how we're feeling. Yeah. Oh, the press secretary. I just think she has she drank the Kool-Aid. She's a pick-me. And she is just gonna like double and triple down because she thinks she's probably never been in a truly narcissistic relationship or healed from one. And when you have healed from a narcissistic relationship or kind of like are able to kind of have this kind of a view of it where you're, at an arm's length instead of just all wrapped up in it, you notice that like, oh, narcissists tell you what they're going to do. They're not just joking around. They're going to do those things. And I think she thinks somehow she's going to be immune to any wrath that happens. And that's not the case. The woman who signed the thing to say that Elon Trump, and it was an affidavit that said, no, Elon Musk has nothing to do with Doge, blah, blah, blah. I'm in charge. That woman's going to go to jail. Also, a long time ago, I said that, Luigi got arrested. But before that, I said, no, they're not going to get the right person. He's not the person who did it. I still don't think Luigi did it. But I think he might have a better chance of getting off just because of messy policing in Pennsylvania. Whatever they tell you they're going to do, they believe them. Like, it's very interesting. One day I will tell you stories, but not today. All right. So let's see. Regine has a question. Miss Devery, I can't wait to hear about your adventures, by the way. Chuck Schumer. Oh God. He, I just get tired of, it's that like, woe is me, poor me, I'm the victim. Like, oh, I'm going to be, and then just not ever actually following through when you need to. Oh, Chuck Schumer's the same problem. It's like, well, just go along to get along. It's like, no, bitch, you cannot do that with a narcissist. And that's what we have in our office. Like, it's not just one, it's a whole system of like narcissistic abuse. You cannot go along to get along, period. You have to be like, nope, this is my boundary, and give them like Gray Rock them. So the go along to get along does not work because they will try and their best to try and get blood from a turnip. And they're never going to get it. You can jump as high as they tell you to jump. And then they'll be like, well, that just like, I don't know, it should probably have been this instead. You should probably have done it this way instead of that way. Like, they will never be happy no matter what. Even if you give them exactly what they want, they aren't happy. They're going to change. They're going to move the bar. They're going to move the goal line, whatever you want to call it. Raise the bar, move the goal line. You know what I mean? Yeah. So listen, I used to be a pick-me, so like we are not gonna. I really wanted people to like me. Now I'm just 46 and I don't care anymore. You like me, you don't. I don't give a shit. I'm wearing wet hair. I might have to go get another drink because I finished my decaf coffee. I'm about to go pick Lana up from work. So I'll do a question next week. Okay, sure. No driving and typing. We like to keep it safe here. All right. So Regine, what are your questions? Oh, there. Start with a general. Okay. So I said, what does Regine need to know this week? I just thought that would be, and I saw like, I've never actually seen this card as an oracle card, but it was like a magical hand holding up a cup and it's overflowing and billowing out with, but it's not like liquid. It's weird. It's like billowing out with like flowers or I don't know, but it's just this feeling of like magic and overflowing this week for you. They're saying seemingly impossible things will start to fall into place this week. Pardon the phrase, it's not mine. I'm just sharing it. They said you're going to be happier than a pig rolling in. You fill in the blank. I actually see you laying down, like taking off a heavy, like a weighted vest and like laying it down and just like this feeling of like relief. Like this is finally the week where everything starts, so where I stop feeling like the weight of everything. They're making me feel like there is oh, interesting. Did you do a manifesting like technique around the like with the eclipse moon on Friday night around like Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Because it's this feeling of like normally people warn you like you that's too powerful and you really shouldn't like do a big release or a big manifesting thing on those because it's too powerful. But you were sort of like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Because they're sort of saying like this was the feeling of like that's actually causing momentum and movement forward. Um, oh, interesting. So they said this decision is also going to help you shed a few pounds because I felt like I felt weight coming off of my hips. I felt really sore, and then I felt weight kind of falling off of my hips. Pardon my yawn. I keep hearing several times she's happy. She's happy, referring to you. So I want to remind people that even though the world is pretty heavy right now, don't begrudge yourself of like good things coming your way and happiness and ease on your journey. And feel like at some point, like, well, all these terrible things are happening, not to feel guilt around good things happening to you. You created your own ceremony. Okay. Um, what's interesting, they're saying with that you were fine doing that, and that uh, you actually followed, excuse me, your intuition the way you should have. I'm not even really tired. I think this is like a nervous system release type thing. Like, you know, when you do tapping and it makes you yawn, or like a somatic release. I wonder if readings do that for me. That's interesting. Sorry. The next 3 weeks are going to feel like a big release and a big purge for you. They're saying hold on, but that it's going to be a little like, you know, when you take off in a roller coaster and it shoots you forward, it's that kind. It's not the kind that just pulls you up and then drops you. It's like the shoots you forward kind. It's like it's going to feel a little out of control, but it's not. It's very controlled. Okay. May I leave you with that? You know, it's so funny. I made a list. I just never hit enter. You're welcome. So you have one more question. If you want to wait, you can wait. And we have Emily. Emily's here, but she's the only other person that has a reading. You'll wait. Okay. Emily, do you want to try and connect with your grandma? Could you just tell me her first name? Okay. When I read your question earlier, when you paid for it, I immediately felt a really bad headache. And now I just feel like a gravelly throat, like a, like there's a respiratory issue. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if she had like a stroke or something that happened in that head. And this, I don't know what this respiratory thing is. She had something, I feel like almost something chronic with like clearing her throat a lot or having a lot of mucus or phlegm, or maybe not even be able to clear her secretions very well. Um, and the stroke might have been, she had a stroke that turned into pneumonia due to aspiration. Okay, perfect. Okay. Not saying perfect that she had that, just that settles all of that. I think she also had an issue with her speech, because it feels a little, it's interesting. I feel like that might have actually changed her pitch, her vocal pitch. Like I feel like it got a little deeper sounding or more gravelly sounding. Um, oh. She says, I understand why you didn't talk to me. Um, I'm like, well, how do you want me to state this? She says, I was a bit prickly. I don't understand this part. She says, I didn't give you the space that you needed. And also, I know that obviously I don't understand it, but I don't know why I feel like I have to clarify that. Um, she says, I didn't make it easy for anybody to want to be close to me. And she says, I didn't love myself enough to figure out how to let anybody know that I love them or to feel loved. This is your mom's mom. Because I'm hearing, I feel like there's an uncle also, in, if he's not crossed over, then he's very similar to my uncle who is crossed over. Um, I'm gonna be like, well, this just took a little bit of a dark turn. Um, it's your mom's mom. Does she have a brother that's crossed over, or does she have a brother? Hi, Kayla. Did you? I felt my watch buzz, but I just didn't check yet. Still on this side, not across the right. It's your uncle. Okay. So I'm only repeating what she told me. You take it for what it is. You can tell me to go jump in a lake. I will receive that. I will not actually do it, but I will receive it without being offended. Um, she makes me feel like she did not protect your mother from her brother. Uh, there were extreme boundaries crossed, and she did not protect her. Meaning, she didn't intervene. She didn't. There were no consequences. Um, it's a feeling of that your mother would just have to get over it. I don't know if that resonates at all. It's a feeling of those kind of things that happened to her. Those kind of things just happen. Um, and you just move on. You just get on with life. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Uh, Was the cousin's name Mike by chance, or Michael? And your aunt is your mother's sister? And I would take it as being a cousin because it's like the same generation. And she was really young and I was swept under the rug. Yeah. Okay. Then that fits. Your grandmother is just owning a lot of what a horrible person she was. I don't think she's evil. I just think she was not a very good woman. And that's where she's pinning herself as that. And it just led to a lot of family dysfunction. So this idea of like, I want to say like, she's not angry or not understanding of why there was a lack of contact. She's fully aware and taking full accountability and sort of like, it's no wonder. And she says, I hope you will forgive me in time. Um, I'm going to say it this way. I'm sure she was kind to you. But when you're kind to the child, but not to the parent, you're in turn not being kind to the child. Because if you're not providing a safe space for the parent, you've already set the tone energetically for the child. Right. Let me turn the heater on in here. Maybe I'll dry my hair a little bit. Hang on, I'll put the link up. So, I want to say this. I definitely, I don't think anybody's never not at peace on the other side. But I think that it's important to note that she's like, she's taking accountability for like not having done such a good job. But I don't want you to think that because she's deciding to take accountability that she's like somehow not happy or at peace. I heard your mother is fine. Like, so when I read for them, they're like together-ish. Your mom's kind of off doing her own thing. Like I get this feeling around like being on a jet ski with a fun drink, like on a vacation. Like she's like off. It's not that your grandmother's miserable. I just think you wanted to connect with her. And I think it was important for her to like say to you, like, I take accountability for this stuff. Like there's like, meaning like you don't have to hold yourself to some crazy high standard for somebody who was not perfect herself. she wouldn't have held you to that. Like she's kind of saying like, you're a much better person than I was. I would never be angry at you for being distant. I know I should have like some lipstick on. So I don't know if 2 weeks ago, if I was having like, remember I was like putting on lip stuff like incessantly in my like lips. I don't know if was having a reaction to a lip thing or if I had some kind of shingles outbreak, but just in my mouth. Because my lips were like on fire. They're still a little uncomfortable. Not as bad. And my tongue is still a little bit numb. And you're like, why don't you go to the doctor? And I'm like, because there was no outward, like you couldn't really see. They just like felt really dry and painful no matter what I put on them. And they're getting better. And I'm like on the fence of like, it might have been an allergic reaction to this new lip stuff I had bought. Anyway, you don't care about that. I'm just rambling there. I understand that makes a lot of sense. I never thought she was angry, but I did feel bad for not connecting better. Right. And I think she's sort of saying like, don't feel bad. It's okay. I will say that my grandmother, who I would like spend a month with every summer, like the last 5 years of her life, I was sort of non-existent because my uncle had moved in her house and he was like literally a diagnosed narcissist. And she had said to me one time, and I was still pretty young, like my frontal lobe was not fully developed. And I think I was probably like 20 or 21 at the time. And not to say like that absolves me, but like also I just didn't fully connect it, where she was like, I wish I'd never let him move in. She said it once and only once and never again. And my aunt lived around the corner and really was the one who did the bulk of caregiving for her. But I didn't like being around my uncle enough to like, when we used to go, we'd stay with her and we'd visit her. And it was like, when he was done living there, I didn't want to have to stay in the same house with him. He made me really uncomfortable. So, and I just think, I don't know, I guess I know that she understands, and, I don't know, just unfortunate things happen sometimes. Just give yourself a bit more grace for not being perfect. You're welcome. Okie dokie. I've got, let me see, I have a couple more payments that came in. I've got Misty and Cindy and Fern. And then, of course, Regine still has hers. Oh, sorry. Okay. So if anybody else wants to put their question up, Misty or CB. You just want a general? Okay. So I asked, I go, what does she need to know for this week? And I heard she's doing too much. She's been doing the most. Is there an event this week with a group of women? Next week. Okay. I feel like there's like a back and forth of like, I don't know if I should go or what should I wear. Like, I feel like there's like a lot of back and forth energy. Um, like it feels like it goes well. It's going to be fine. I feel like the weather's going to be nice. They're saying it's going to be very entertaining. This word is. Are y'all gonna have like flasks or something? Or is there like so I don't feel like in this event, like maybe there's this idea of like going out and like meeting of men. I don't feel like that's gonna happen, but I feel like getting together with these women will become a more regular event. Like they're saying they'll accept you into the flock. Oh wait, what did I need to repeat? It's at a sports bar. Okay. Um I said a flask, or like I kept saying something about a canteen, maybe cantina. I don't know. I was like, what is that? But when I was in Spain, they had a bar on campus and they called it the cantina. Yes, you could get a beer at lunch. um, this is going to sound weird, but this is like keeps coming up. Like someone's going to be wearing like either a melon colored pair of pants or salmon color, something like that. So it feels like this is not where I meet a man. If that's like the idea that we'll go out to a sports bar and meet, I don't feel like it's going to happen this week. But I do feel like these get-togethers are going to become more regular. So not this time, but maybe the second or third time you go out. Pink and green. Oh, okay. So is this like a mixer you're going to? Because they're saying like he's not going to be at this one, but he'll be at like the next one or the one after. It's a mixer. Okay. So yeah, so it's not going to be like, so I feel like these are going to become regular that you're going to do these. So it's not this one, but maybe like the next one or the one after is actually where you're going to meet someone. Um, but I still feel like you're gonna make sure that this women like it's a feeling that they're gonna like take you under their wing. They're gonna really accept you into the group. You wear team wear. Oh, okay. And it's you said pink and green. Okay, perfect. Because I'm like, I keep seeing like I don't know if it's like, but it's not like it's like a deeper pink or brighter or something like that. It's not quite like light pink or baby pink or anything like that. And Kelly green. Salmon pink and Kelly green. Okay, perfect. Because I'm like, this is not, I just keep seeing salmon pink pants. My feeling is the importance around this is really your development of a good camaraderie with other women and having this community that you're building. That's really what's going to carry you through the next 20 years or more. Not that you're dying in 20 years, but just like this is going to be something that's really going to be like a really important part of your life. I really hate this. It's not here. Right. So this is a good thing. Do this. I'm going to leave you with that. Okay, Misty, you want to go ahead and go? Unless Regine came up with her second question already. You're very welcome, CB. Thank you for supporting me year after year. You picked up dowsing rod yesterday for the first time. How do you feel about those? I've only seen people do them, and I don't know if okay, so I have do I have it down here? So I have a pendulum, right? But I such a hard time with pendulums because I think you can do micro movements to make things move the way you want to do. And sometimes when I watch some people do their pendulums, I'm like, you're moving that. I could see that, right? The dowsing rods, do they work for you? What do you mean? Oh, wait, I said you would pick them up? I'm so confused. Do they work for you? I mean, I like watching people work with them, but I also want to be like, ask this question instead, but I'm not paying anybody to do that. So. Your card is getting declined. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have like a million different payment systems, mostly because I can't. My mental load is already loaded, and with 3 kids, and so like keeping track of the 85 different payment systems is just like. So I don't know why it's getting declined. I have just PayPal. That's all I have. I don't do any of the other because I don't know what anybody else is doing, but I actually declare all of my money on taxes. And I just try to make my life easier rather than overcomplicated. Maybe I should probably come up with a different system, but I don't have like Cash App or anything like that. You think felt natural but moved with your mind? Yeah. I mean, they're fun. I think stuff like that works better when you're not really invested in it. So maybe when you're answering other people's questions rather than your own. And also, I feel like, so I'm not poo-pooing cards, but I was like, oh, I don't know. There's so much to chance or whatever. But I've been having fun with using them for you guys, like for general readings or whatever, because I don't really like doing big general readings for groups. Divine or Astral, no, I'm not doing free readings. There's plenty of other, like sometimes I do lives on TikTok and sometimes I do them free there, but I'm not. This is paid. I give donations, and I was actually thinking about taking and charging people more for mediumship readings because I do put a lot more work into those. But yeah, I'm not going to do free readings. I'm sorry. That's sort of my own boundary. I'm sure you understand. It's like an energy exchange thing, because then if I say yes to you, then I have to say yes to another person that comes on or is watching. And it's like, but you gave it free to that person. Thank you. I'm not trying to be it's just sort of one of those things I have to be kind of firm on. Plus, I don't charge that much for the years of experience that I have. I don't really charge anything. So, wait, why would I forego it? Oh, well, let's see what we got here, Misty. I won't forego that. There was years ago. This is like before I started doing charged ones. I don't know if any of you were watching me back then. There's a woman who always came on here. At least I think it was a woman. And I don't know what she was writing, but she was like researching somebody who was a serial killer. And like I connected with his energy. It was messed up. Okay. I know, Diviner. I know. Okay. Um, I think we talked about that last week where you mentioned that, and I would like to say congratulations on being pregnant again, and thank you for the validation. Um, the other thing I find too is when I say like, "Oh, I'll do this question for you," then like people start to push and be like, "Well, can I just have another one?" Well, you just so that's why I just kind of say a hard no, and I probably sound like a meanie pants, but that is just what it is. It's business. I mean, at the end of the day, this is like all business is an energy exchange. Everything I do is an energy exchange, and when you give too much of yourself, I mean, this is a lesson for everybody. It's like you shouldn't overgive of yourself. You should like find balance. I know you do. I know you're not being. It's my own guilt that I'm saying no, which I tell everybody to be like no is a complete sentence. You can say no. You have a right to say no, and then I have a hard time with it myself. So I get it. Okay. All right, Misty. Let's. How am I going to do this? Are you wanting me to connect with Charlie? Wait, I need to say this first. Do you know anything about him on a personal level? Like, because you're saying he's your biological father. So do you know anything about him so that, and don't tell me anything about him. I'm just saying, do you know enough about him to where if I'm saying like I'm connecting with this energy, this is what I'm picking up, that you could be like, yes or no? So I'm picking up on somebody's energy who had it's either light brown or dirty blonde hair. Uh it wasn't like long, but it wasn't like super short either. And he had a lot of hair and a mustache. And I feel like teeth issues in his front teeth. Um, do you know if he wore cowboy boots? Because I'm seeing somebody with like he looks like he's trying to run out of somewhere, getting dressed, or he's trying to run out of somewhere because his shirt's not on. He's like pulling his pants up. I feel like he smoked because I just like he might have ended up dying of a heart issue. So I do feel like he had probably a drug and alcohol problem, but it's funny. He goes, I was not a good guy, but I was not a serial killer. Um, I feel like he got in a lot of fights. I feel like he's harmed a few women, like was abusive to them. Um, do you know if how he passed? If he passed from a heart attack? I know. I just saw that you said you don't think it's him, but do you know if he had a mustache ever? Did he have lighter colored hair growing up, like when he was young, and then it got darker as he got older? Are you sure he never had a mustache? Like not even in his 20s? And I'm not trying to press it. It's like if that's what's being shown to me, I'm trying to figure out why I'm getting that. So, like, or in the 1970s, would he have had a mustache? It was always dark. All right, let me come back to it. I'm not gonna give up. I just want to kind of clear the energy and do some more and then come back to yours. Can I do that? I genuinely don't believe he was a serial killer. I have to be honest with you. I don't feel that at all. You think you know who it is? Who is it? The description fits your stepdad very well. Okay. Did your stepdad claim you as his own? Okay. I genuinely don't feel like he is that. I genuinely like I would not uh Was your was your stepdad also in the military? I genuinely, I know you like, who wants them to be that? I just genuinely don't feel it. Okay. All right. So let's keep going then. Because if that makes sense to you, then let's figure out why. Would your stepdad have called you darling or darling? Darling. Darling. Or did he use that term for women? And can you give me your stepdad's first name? Jim. Thank you. Look at you ahead of the game. So I just keep feeling sorry. I notice I'm pausing. Like I keep getting like different things coming through. Um, I keep getting that he's not. And in fact, it's your stepdad that's telling me he's not. That energy there is telling me he's not. He adopted you. Okay. I just feel like your dad had a really bad drug problem and was into a lot of stuff. Too familiar and flirty. Okay. So I genuinely don't feel like your birth father was a serial killer. Like I just don't feel that. I just feel like not a good man. Let me just see what time it is, Camel. Oh, it's 5:26. Yeah, and then who else do I have left here? Hang on, I just want to see what I have on the list, who I've left, and I've got Regine and Fern. Yeah, you could do one, and then I'll probably close the list. We'll just keep it short today, and we'll do like a big general thing if you guys want. Yeah, so Misty, I think honestly, genetically, you're in the clear of like not having that as B. Not a great man. Like I actually wouldn't be surprised if he had a heroin issue. Oh, okay, Heidi, I'll check. Jim had the drug problem. Oh. But your father, I feel like, had an issue too. Like as much as you're like, I feel like your father had stuff too. It's weird because I feel like, did you say this? Because you're just answering yes and no. And sometimes when I finally open my eyes, I can't remember what I asked. Was your father in the military with Jim? Or in the military? Okay. You're welcome, Misty. Okay, Heidi, I got your payment, and Camel, yours as well. And then we'll close the list. All right, Fern, what's your question? I think I am going to probably start charging more for mediumship because it sort of does like it's a lot. It's a little more draining for sure. You'll be happy to know that my filters for my refrigerator water are coming shipped. In case anybody was worried about that. That's what that ding was for. Urgent. Sure, Fern. Okay. All right. Charlie, your father was in the military. Jim, my adoptive father, was not. Jim was a drug addict. I still think your father had some kind of issue too. Like, I know there's not a lot you don't know about him, and maybe you're certain on that, but there's just something where I feel like there's an issue. Oh, well, if I might poke into that later because I'm curious. So come back and maybe I'll be like, hey, as if I'm texting you, which I won't be, but okay. Hi, Doug. So these are general, like these are right now are private questions, meaning like to deal with you personally. And so they're $12 a reading, but I'm closing the list now. It says list closed, not list. Sorry about that. And then I'll do general readings, which will be sort of like what's going on in the world, or if you have general readings about like, I don't know, how our guides message us and things like that. I'm happy to do that. These are crazy, but whatever. Okay. Okay. All right. So general for Fern. What does Fern need to know this week? So I keep seeing these like white flowers come at me, and some of them look like peonies, and some of them look like trying to think of the name of the flower. It's not a lily. I'll have to think about that. Maybe it's a lotus flower. That's a. Let me just see. Oh, this is okay. You're gonna laugh at me, but this is literally what I saw. This is an origami tulip, but I saw this but white. So stupid. I was like, what is that? Doesn't look anything like a lotus flower or a lily or anything else like that. Okay. But I'm also getting this feeling of, they said this, you can't execute the plan unless you actually go out and start the plan. So I do feel like you've been kicking around a lot of ideas, and it almost feels around career, business things, around like sort of imagining as far as manifesting. And they're sort of like, and now you actually have to go put some things into action. So this week is about starting and taking action. Um, and they're reminding you that like baby steps and sort of like getting your feet unstuck because they feel like they're stuck in the mud. Um, They said you'll eventually get to where you need to be. So even if you go in the wrong direction for a little bit, don't worry about it. You'll eventually get to where you need to be, but it's time to get started. I don't know if any of that resonates at all for you, but it's really about taking action this week. I just heard your health troubles are over. Um, these are all very general, but I almost feel like I'm able to finally move forward because I'm sort of in a healthier spot. I'm able to have more energy. Yes, I understand. I've been school for a long time and have to get back after the summer. Have you been avoiding doing stuff because of your health? Is that maybe what the issue is? So maybe this week is about like if you have to go back to school, you have kidney issues. Okay. But they're saying that you've been taking steps like that. There's something that's like you've either been taking or something you did where it's like maybe it's like one of those things of like if it comes back or if it gets worse. And I feel like that's not going to happen. So it's sort of like maintain where you're at, do maintenance type stuff, and you're going to be fine. And they're talking about like when you're doing your manifesto, there it's like you're saying that you're ready for something bigger and better, but you're not actually doing the things to really make yourself prepared for bigger and better. So like it would be the idea of like if creating the space for this stuff to come in. That makes a lot of sense. I've been stressing about my health a lot this week. So they're sort of saying like that needs to stop. I probably come from a very different sort of mindset um, in that, like, we can sit and worry about our health issues when we don't really know if they're going to be okay, and you can spend time doing all of that. But at the end of the day, you still don't know if something's wrong or um, like I'm kind of one of the people who like be proactive rather than like reactive. My mom, I don't want to share her health stuff, but we'll say this. She had some health stuff come up at a point, and I said, well, we can sit here and worry about it, or we can just go, well, we don't know until we know, and we're going to get the diagnosis. And then once we have the diagnosis, we know they'll have a plan of like, this is the protocol that we do with this diagnosis. And so I feel like it's sort of this idea of like, if you know that things are going well, don't assume that they're just always going to fall apart. Just keep moving forward. They're telling me your health problems are over. Oh, there was a white tulip that fell and we knew it was meant for someone, but we didn't know who. It's for you. It's for you. So then I want you to take that as validation for what I'm telling you, especially about your health stuff. Okay. I'm going to leave you with that. You're very welcome. I'm glad you're doing better. Okay. Regine, you wanted to do mediumship? Let me just see what these other ones are and then. Okay. Thank you for always being so patient too. I appreciate that, Regine. Heidi, what's your question? Okay, I would like a reading on my love life. Is there someone out there for me? Hi, Allie. How are you? I wanted a reading. Sorry. Wanted a reading on my love life. Is there someone out there for me? When will I meet him? What's blocking me from finding that person? Do I already know them? This is supposed to be one question. All right. So I said, I basically just kind of was like, well, and it's like, yes, of course, there is someone out there for you. I do feel like it's a few years out, to be honest with you. And I don't feel like it's really because you're doing something wrong. I do feel like energetically you're putting yourself out there. I just feel like it's not time yet. And not because of you, because what we need to remember is when we're looking at energetic connections with other people, many times they have to be ready too. Right. So even when people are like, why am I not getting pregnant? I'm like, because like for that soul to come in, they need their astrological chart, right? They need everything to be in line for their stuff too. So like it may not be about your timing, it may be about their timing. And I feel like who you meet honestly is genuinely in a relationship right now and he's not available. It doesn't mean like there's only one person, but this person I see coming along for you is just not available yet right now. And so as long as you're on board with that and you're okay with that and understand that, like, not to turn inwards and feel like there's something wrong with me, nobody likes me, the universe is against me, like, all of that victimization type stuff that we can do to ourselves to somehow, like, I don't know, does it make us feel better? No. So punish ourselves for not meeting up to whatever the standard is we think we need to be on. I can't even straighten my glasses out right. Jesus Christ. Maybe my head's just wonky. So I just feel like it's not a you thing. I do feel like I can see these like little energy tentacles going out around you in all directions. Like I don't feel like you've left a stone unturned or anything. I just feel like it's not about you. I do feel like you would benefit from being gentler with yourself, from really paying attention to what follows I am. When we talk about doing shadow work, right, it's not about just saying affirmations and stuff. It's looking at, well, where did those belief systems come from that I would think that like I wouldn't be worthy and deserving of love and somehow the universe would leave me out of that. Where does that come from? Or I love the story of what a spinster is and then how it got turned into a negative thing. And I always find it very interesting that very good and positive things, when people are threatened by them, turn them into like a negative, scary thing. Those that are somehow could be not harmed, but in their mind think that they're going to somehow not be able to benefit or be oppressed by that. Like feminism, right? That was like my daughter said something about, she's like, well, I said, well, I'm a feminist. And she goes, well, people at school make it sound like it's bad. I'm like, it's not bad. It's like people who are afraid of somebody else's power will make you think that because they're afraid somehow you're going to oppress them or push them down. And those become really strange belief systems that end up harming us in the end, right? Like, there's an old story I like to share that's like the teacher who has a black student and a white student, and they both are like doing the same level of work, doing, both doing really well. And the teacher goes to tell the black mother that, like, oh, your son is doing so well. He's an amazing student. We really like him a lot. He's a great helper in class, all those good things and positive things. And then you and Heidi are friends. Maybe he's not 18 just yet. I actually feel like he's a little bit older. Don't go for the young ones. Let their frontal lobe fully develop. But so like the teacher's like talking up the black student to his mother, and the mother's like, oh, well, we just have such a hard time with him at home because they'll, she'll never give him 100%. And then with the white student, same thing. And the mother would be like, the white mother would be like, oh my God, he's so amazing, blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently, like back in when people were still held as slaves, if you talked up your son, the potential, or daughter, the potential for them to be taken away and either sold off or whatever, separated from you, was much greater. So you would always say, well, I have such a hard time at home. You would make sure that they were kind of dabbed down a little bit as a way to protect you. But that through time, that protection has become a harm, right? So the idea is like, there may be belief systems that we hold on to that were there to keep us safe when we were younger or in past generations that are now harming us. Oh, thank you, Misty. I appreciate that. So my point to you is like, look at those belief systems so that so when you walk into this next relationship, you're walking in as like the absolute best version of yourself, because you deserve that, because then you won't miss if they're not a good person. Because I do feel like there's a little bit of that fear of like, what if I miss the red flags? You won't miss the red flags, is what I'm telling you. If you start working on some of the stuff and you recognize, like, and here's the thing, I don't think that when we get these belief systems put within us, like through family and society, I don't think that anybody's doing it maliciously. Backing up to religion and some religions where it's like, I went to so many different churches trying to find a place where I felt connected to what I knew inherently to be God and what society and religions were telling me to be God, and like trying to find that connection. Probably why I became the way I am. And I went to one church. I was going to like the singles group meetup things, and I went with a woman who was a resident at my hospital, and her boyfriend was a resident at the hospital. I knew them both. They'd both done rotations in my unit. That's how I knew her. And I was like, okay, well, they're educated. So like, right. And it was very much still very oppressive to women. So I didn't stay there long because I grew up in a house full of women. You are not going to keep me down. As much of a pygmy as I was, if you were like, you can't ask a question or have an opinion, I was like, no, thank you. So I just think like when you start to look at that stuff, it's like that kind of stuff I feel like is meant and intentionally, but other stuff I don't necessarily think it is. So just try and have like, instead of like being like, like you might go through some periods of anger, but just try and be gentle with yourself as you do it. Cause I just think really it's so much about awareness where it's like, oh, isn't that interesting? Well, like, so I am one of 3 girls and I have 3 girls, but I will tell you that the interesting that you hear is being one of 3 girls. And then when you have 3 girls, it's like, there's always this like, oh, all daughters, like as if someone has like is mentally abusing me every day and is the most torturous thing you will ever have. But if I have if I have 3 boys, it's not that. It's like, oh, they'll just eat you out of house and home. Like, oh, that must be a big food bill. Like, but like, it's not traumatizing. It's just a financial. And you hear that enough, you start to think, I need to be smaller so I'm not one of those traumatizing girls. It's very interesting. And no, I don't think it's traumatizing to have 3 daughters. I adore my children. I don't know if I would be a good boy mom. Maybe. Maybe when they're older. I don't know if I have the energy for the little ones. That's a lot of running around to do. Let's put them on a treadmill. Let's go. Sorry. I definitely would not want, especially if they were like hockey players. Good God. My friend has 2 sons. And they play all different kinds of sports. And I feel like she's always at some sporting event. And I just like get to go send mine to they like crafts. Although my middle one started skateboarding because she's been watching Stranger Things and she's like obsessed with Stranger Things now. Like it's her special interest. So you're very welcome. I am now just rambling. Let's get going. Sorry. Okay. Camel, what is your question? And then Regine, we will end it off with a little mediumship. Bebop, doo-wop. And then we'll ask general questions if you guys want to ask like political stuff that's going on or whatever. I'll give you some time for that. I should probably start changing the titles of my things and like putting notes in about the political stuff we talk about. But you know what? I always forget. Like I go upstairs and I'm like, oh, I gotta go do dinner and stuff. And then I totally forget. It's like this, like I am very much an out of sight, out of mind type person. So I don't have to like never bring food into my house, like where they're like, some people say like, I can't bring any sugar into my house if I'm trying to eat well, or I can't bring it. I'm like, I literally can put it in a cabinet and forget about it. That it was ever there. It's like, yeah. So like some of this stuff becomes like out of sight, out of mind for me, where I'm like, oh, I'm done with the reading. Probably TMI. Okay. Camel, what's your question? Are you here, dude? Did you fall asleep? I know you're way ahead in time. I would have fallen asleep by now. 5 or 6 hours ahead, I'd be snoring away. I don't think I snore. Too loud. Okay. Same. I got 3 bags of croutons because I kept forgetting that too now. I rebuy stuff all the time where I'm like, oh my God. I need to they need to create some kind of, I really honestly like when I win the lottery, because you know I will, when I make it a priority, it's really, but when I make it a priority to like redo some kitchen stuff, my cabinets are very deep and things get lost in there all the time. I really need just drawers to pull stuff out because I do forget. Drawers and labels, and then people not to mess up my organization. And I also have to like store things, and everything has to be in clear containers because if it's not, I'll forget that stuff is there. Like it's bad. Okay, hi Tiffany. You just need to organize your pantry better. I just have people who then move stuff around. So if I was more of a crack the whip kind of person, you won't buy a lottery ticket because you don't think you're that lucky. So I've just decided that I have my fortune, my whatever it's lot of fortune is in Leo, and apparently that's very lucky. And so I just started deciding, because I'm having fun with like manifesting. And I got like $12, and I was like walking around like, oh, like $12. Look at me. It's so silly, but listen, I will take the wins where I can. You lost your internet connection. I thought maybe you fell asleep because I said I would fall asleep. Okay, what's your question? Seriously, $12. I was like, look at me in the money. I'm the guy when I walked away probably was like, oh, that poor woman. she needs any bit she can. But I was like, I manifested that. Listen, I mean it. When you're doing manifesting and you're like connecting for your intuition and all that stuff, you got to take the little stuff too and get excited about it, because it's like that's where it starts to build the momentum. Okay. What's coming towards you in April? All right. Are you getting over like a respiratory thing? And this is not to be bad, but I think you might be dealing with some health stuff in April, because I feel like a lot of burning in my stomach, like some refluxy type stuff. It might be like maybe you end up having to take like an antibiotic or something for something, and then that causes like sort of a little bit more stomach issues. You're fasting in April? Oh, this month. Yeah, I feel like this is when you're asking for April. Oh, maybe. Does it cause you to have stomach upset issues when you do fasting? I mean, I don't truly fast ever because I am very severely affected by blood sugar issues. Like my sensory stuff goes off the charts. And also, I am like a crabby toddler. It's really good to just carry around like cereal bracelets. If I'm just kidding. Your county sued Gap and won, and now I'm getting like $100. Sweet. It is a big one. Wait, did you find that out like the other week when I did the thing about getting money? Um, okay, Camel. Okay, I'm going to do this a little more specifically because I'm not getting a ton with the general. Um, More so about just trying to find the positive in situations. So I'm just going to look at it. I'm going to look at it like where I do subjects, because it's just the general thing is not giving me a lot. Um, are you not working yet, or are you working now? Because I feel like in April things start to trickle in a little bit, where I'm getting a little bit more and a little bit more. And it feels like by the third week of April, I'm feeling like I'm in a better routine. Honestly, the first week of April feels kind of not great. And so I don't know if it's like one of these things where you're having some health stuff come on. And again, it's not like you're dying. It just feels like either like some stomach issues or cold. Something comes in where it's just like a temporary setback, where you're a little bit more housebound that week. I'm going to say this because I just got it. We're having a lot of issues with measles here in the United States right now. I feel like that might be moving to Europe a little bit. Here's the good thing. We have vaccines and they work. So if you're immunocompromised, please start wearing masks. If you were born, I think it's between like 1968 and 1989, you might need a booster for measles. So if you haven't, if you're not sure if you've had it or anything else, you can always ask the doctor to draw titers, where they draw a little bit of blood to see if you're still immune. I was waiting for this mouth stuff to go away because I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I'm going to be getting my measles booster because, is it 68 and 79? You said you were born in 79. You're coughing a lot. Okay. That's the lung thing for me. So you might want to look into see if you need a booster for measles. But that's not just you, that's just everybody in general. Just giving the heads up on that. I'm not overly concerned about it. My kids are all vaccinated. I'm just going to get the booster because I know that when I had my titers drawn back in like 2000 and oh no, sorry, it was maybe in 98, 99, 2000, maybe 2000. 99. My mine showed that I was immune, but I know somewhere between then and like 2003 or 4, I was no longer immune to whooping cough, and I got it from one of my patients. So pertussis or pertussis. You weren't on the live, but you'll check it out. So yeah, I was looking at career. I feel like something starts to trickle in April. It feels like maybe by the 3rd week of April, feeling better and feeling like things are better. But I feel like the 1st week of April, you might have a little bit of another little health rough thing. I feel like it's more stomach than anything, but I could be wrong. But so a lot of it too is they're also saying like try and find the good. Like I know things are kind of rough. I know that's like such a Pollyanna thing for me to say, especially if you're going through it. But it does feel like trying to find the upside to any situation. They're kind of talking about the circulation in your feet too. Do your feet get cold easily? I feel like you need to do some more like foot massage and movement for circulation. Maybe some like qigong or something. Energy movement. I know that sounds so terrible when I'm like, be positive, but I feel like at the beginning they're sort of saying like some of this, like sometimes we have to like find the good in when we're having a rough time. Like there were points in my life where literally it was like the sun is up. I gotta like look for that. Like that is like everything else felt really rough. I would literally, there was times too where I'd be like, I can wiggle my toes. Like I'm having a really rough time right now, but I'm going to just be grateful for the fact that I can wiggle my toes because I had plenty of patients at a point that were completely unable to move neck down. So their muscles were all contracted. They were very stiff. And so I literally would just find any little thing to try and like pull up my energy. So it's like, it's even in the darkest spots trying to find a little bit of light. I know. Here's the thing. I don't believe, as much as like they're saying prepare and all that for invasions and things like that, I do not believe that's going to happen. That is not a feeling I have. It is not even like it's not even on my radar where my guys are like, hey, like that's not it. Most of the things that we're going to be dealing with when we look at it's all going to be done through money and internet-y stuff. So I do really believe that all the stuff that's going on is sort of going to be more contained to the Ukraine. We're going to be hearing more about Palestine and Gaza this week in the news. I still feel like Bibi will be arrested eventually. I still feel like that's going to happen. And I'm very sorry. And I hope that you didn't lose too much family. It is honestly horrific what happened there. I have a close friend who, we talk a lot about it. And when I try to be very careful about what I say, not because I'm worried about, I want to really consider people's feelings, especially because I do know that there is a lot of racism, and I do know that there's a lot of racism around brown-skinned people. And it's not lost upon me. The minute I didn't know anything about Palestine, and honestly, it'll show you how ignorant I was. I didn't because you just hear general comments put out oh, what's going on in the Middle East has been going on for thousands of years. So you couldn't fathom or understand what it is. And then when stuff happened on October 7th, I was like, let me just look. Literally a 5-minute search. Let me just look. And I was like, well, that's some bullshit that's going on over there. That is straight up. You look at how they held Palestinians hostage, essentially. Just, I'm using the term loosely, so anybody gets their panties in a bunch or whatever. But when you keep people imprisoned and they can only travel, you always know where they're at, and they can only get, they have to sign in and out and all of that stuff, and they can only have certain things imported in for them to use. That's a setup. I mean, come on. That's common sense. That's not psychic. So when I just started reading, I was like, so they've basically held these people. I mean, they only have so much food that goes in and out. It's just insanity. So what I was saying is I know among my friend is Pakistani. Nobody cares about us because we're not the right color of skin. And I wish I could be like, you're wrong. Of course we do. I think there are people that care. And I think the wrong people are being bought out right now by the wrong people. I think he wants the natural resources. I think so. When I first looked at it, my first question is always to my guides, what do they want out of this? Because any kind of act like that is about power or money or land, resources. And the first thing I got was land, for real estate. That's the first get for them, is the real estate. Hi, Perry. So these are not free readings. They're paid readings. In a few minutes, I'm going to answer. I'm going to do Regine's reading now. And in a few minutes, I'm going to move to doing general readings where you guys ask about politics and things that are going on. This sort of just fell into that because of what I was doing for a reading for Camel. They're just $12 a question. And then 30% I donate to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Because every dollar provides 3 meals there, and food scarcity is real, and there are families in need. And if we can subsidize or help somebody out so that their kid can eat a little bit more that day or that week, then I believe that we need to do that. And I am happy paying taxes and taking care of people as long as those taxes are not going to wars and military industrial complexes. And I'm happy for Social Security to go to my old people and Medicaid, and I'd be happy for everybody to have health care instead of all of this stuff. I'd be happy for everybody to have a minimum living assistance given every week. I really believe in helping people, and not the absurdity that's. Anyway, okay. So Regine, are you ready, my dear? And then we'll do some general questions. Everybody's so patient to sit here and wait through these. I appreciate it, especially when I start to ramble. Yesterday, my grandma came. Well, you know what's funny is I had a grandma visit me yesterday too. Maybe yesterday was the grandma day, and today's the grandma day. Okay, my grandma came to me while doing dowsing rods. Does she have any messages? She came in today again. Can you tell me her first name? Do you know how I always like to say that name? Because I'm sure you saw the movie. Selena. Just like to say it that way. Okay, sorry. I know it's spelled differently. Okay. Oh, your grandma's all warm and fuzzy and cute. Like she's like so huggy and cuddly. She wear like she's showing me like an apron, but it has pockets in it. She said my pockets are deep. I think it was probably just a little bit of a silly play on it because I don't feel like she was a well-off woman, but um, I feel like she would have given you your last dime. Like she really just cared. Um, I did know that, Julia. I love horses so much. Can you tell me? You know when they're little babies, they have all this super fuzzy ears. Do they have fuzzy ears when they're older? Because I don't feel like I've ever noticed that when I've gone riding or been around horses that their ears were fuzzy until I started watching some videos and I was like, oh, they're babies. They have these like super fluffy, fuzzy ears. Um, yeah, because when I go upstairs, I'm not yawning. I just do it when I do this. So I guess when I connect in, it must be releasing stuff for me too. Um, so does this make sense? Did your grandma did Selena wear like a little apron? Like it's a colorful pattern to it. It's got these big pockets. I feel like she would have just given you like every last penny that she had. She doesn't feel very tall to me, and I also feel like she had kidney issues as well. You could smell her sometimes too. Did she make something with like something with brown sugar, but it's not like I'm like, is it caramel? It's not caramel. It's like I don't know if it's a cookie or she just keeps saying to about you overnight. She's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. She she wants you to keep working with the dowsing rods. And in fact, when you start working with them, she's telling me to tell you to set the intention to connect with her. And like if you're worried about like not sure what you're connecting with ever, it's like sort of like asking her to be there to provide protection. She's talking about I don't know if she used to give teas or tinctures or something she used to make. And she's saying there was more to that than I even realized then. Like I knew that it was healing somehow, but I didn't understand quite how healing was, not just because of the tincture itself, but because of the energy I put into it when creating it, like the belief and the faith in it. Y'all, I'm going to somehow get to be known as like the yawning medium. It could be the heater I have on. I don't know. Do you feel her here? Like, because I kept rubbing here, but I also feel like you get like a smell of her. Like you can smell her occasionally. She keeps saying she's happy to be around you. I keep hearing like a bell, like, like when you walk into a small store and it has a bell on the door. Do you have like a bell around your house that you hear ringing randomly? Do you know that song Blackbird? In your back, sometimes I have a bell I ring to. Oh, okay. Perfect. She's with you in those moments. I'm hearing that song Blackbird. I am hearing the Sarah McLachlan version of it, but there's the Beatles have a version of it. I'm sure somebody else does too. I feel like she really liked that song. Blackbird. You can look up Blackbird by the Beatles or Sarah McLachlan. So when you're using the dowsing rods, call on her to be with you. And I feel like actually you'll find that you get more accurate and thorough information. And here's the thing. Dowsing rods are like a very basic way of like when I teach intuition development, I'm telling you that it's essentially asking 20 questions and then like like when you play the game 20 questions, if you don't ask the right way, you don't get the right answer. So like maybe it's more about learning to just adjust how you're asking the questions as you're doing it. You get more, the more you practice, the better you get at it, quite literally with everything. Okay. Felix, I see you snuck in a little payment and the list was closed. Just kidding. I should take this down. So let's quick do your question and then call it a day and do the general stuff so I can move on to my other things I have to do, like making sure homework is done and such so we can go to bed at a decent time. You're very welcome, Regine. I can't wait to hear more about your doing dowsing rides and stuff and how that's going for you. Your grandma's very sweet. I like her a lot. Felix, are you still here? Oh, yes, I forgot that your name was not. Okay, what's your question? Oh, wait, Julie, did you answer the question about the ears? Oh, the ears stay fuzzy in the native breeds, like the cold-blooded horses, not the racing breeds so much. Oh, what kind of horses do you have? Are you going to travel internationally this year? Um, Interesting. So the very first thing I saw was 2028. I'm not saying it's not going to happen until then, but I feel like 2028 is going to be a big year of travel for you. Like it stands out so much and they're like heavy on the travel in 2028. Um, honestly, I don't know. If you do, it's going to be the tail end of the year. I feel like you're more likely to travel in the very beginning of 2026. And I just feel more about uncertainty and a little bit of wonkiness and just feeling like maybe I should wait, like not being sure about where you want to go and if that's a good time and like everything just not kind of coming together. If you go, it feels like a short trip, which is weird for international because you think like, well, if you're going to do that big of a trip, why wouldn't you go for a long time? Like maybe September, a short trip, like maybe a week. Uh, and then another trip in 2026. And it feels like more at the beginning of the year. And I feel like big travel in 2028. So who knows? Maybe you go like on a 6 month sabbatical. I don't know if that resonates at all for you. Okie dokie. Anybody have any general questions you want to ask? No one? Silent? Crickets? I can't believe that. Wow. I mean, I've been peppering throughout this thing little things here and there. Um, maybe I'll do just I'll have to record a video or whatever and do just a Trump reading. I don't know if I want to do it as a what if we did a live where I just do maybe I'll do a video on just him. And then maybe we'll do like where you guys like give me some questions, like come prepared kind of thing. Oh, okay, that sounds cool. What is the significant what is March 21st significance like for you personally or what do I think about when it happens trend on what does that mean? What's the when it happens trend? Listen, oh, y'all, this is good. Okay, so I'm on the side of TikTok. Well, I have a weird algorithm, quite frankly. But I think it's weird because I think it's all over the place. Maybe that's my brain, right? So, but I'm follow this woman who tells all these like random stories she gets emailed, right? About like ghosty type stories and things like that. So she tells a story about this woman who was somewhere in Georgia, her and her friends, they were like, there's 5 of them. And they like somehow got off the road and they got like, it was like this weird, like a time sort of skip or whatever the way, I don't know. They're calling it a glitch in the matrix. I don't think it's a glitch. I think it's a time overlap. And I've had an experience this. So like they got like, they went into this gas station, they went to the bathroom and they came out and the guy was like really creepy that was standing there and he like never moved. He was just staring at them. And like everything on the shelves was like way, way, way expired and dusty and stuff. And so they get in their cars to leave. They're like, we need to get out of here. And they leave and like they think they're heading back to the highway and like they're driving forever and it's not going anywhere. And then they turns out they're coming back towards the gas station again and they see the guy staring at them. Okay, so that's their first one, like this weird, like, and then finally, like they've been driving forever and they thought they like, why didn't we get back to the highway? And they somehow ended up back at this gas station. Okay. So then like the next day, someone had emailed her and said, my dad told the same story, only that was him. And he had drug problems. He had this whole history of drug problems and like keeping jobs and all of this stuff. And like, so like the family would be apart for a while and then his mom and dad would eventually get back together because his dad would clean up his act, blah, blah, blah. And so then he says, my dad came home one night and that was like the final straw because my mom thought he started using again because he was like, I saw time travelers. There was 5 girls, like described them all perfectly. And I don't know if that description was included in the woman's initial one. And like like that he was saying like they 5 time travelers came in and they were in their brand new car and they came through and then like they like their future car and like he's like I can show you the tire tracks blah blah blah. And he said I didn't really believe in it. I thought he was just crazy until I read that. And then somebody else wrote in the next day like my husband and I had the same like similar where like time seemed to like stand still and we saw this like weird sit go like all this other stuff. So like that same type thing. Hang on. You know what person I'm talking about. Hang on. Is it a good idea for people to keep their stock investments or sell during the presidency? So it I feel like this is logic. I'll tell you. Okay, so what did okay. So then my story is that I was walking one day. I was working at a clinic in Upper Manhattan in the Inwood Heights area. And I was walking and there was like an empty lot in the building, like between some of the buildings. And I looked over and it was almost like all of a sudden I could see like I was looking into a huge open field. It was just a lot. And I saw all the rolling grass and I saw soldiers from the American Revolution, 2 of them. They had set up a camp and I felt like they were somehow being like kept far away from everybody else, secluded for some reason. Either they weren't well or something wasn't right. And they saw me and they were like coming like to talk to me, running after me. And I was like, no, like I have to go. And like they're like, but you can see us. I was like, yeah, I can see you. So like I feel like there was a time overlap there where I could see them and I looked like some lady from the future. And I feel like whatever was going on with them, people were just calling them crazy anyway and would have dismissed it. I think time overlaps happen a lot more than people realize. So I even kind of wonder if maybe our ghosts aren't actually ghosts, but time overlaps. Because there's even times where my daughter's like, I see daddy sometimes, like, but he's not here, he's at work, but I can see him. And I was like, yeah, I think that there's time, just like sometimes we catch echoes of overlapping time. So this particular eclipse and blood moon are really about releasing that stuff which no longer serves us. And like it depends on, I think this one was this one in Aries? Am I wrong? I can't remember. Let me see. I went to a thing on Wednesday for it. Let me see. This one was in Aries. So it sort of depends on where Aries is in your chart. So for me, Aries is my first house because so you look at your rising sign and that's where your chart starts. So I'm 0 degrees rising. So if you look at my chart, it looks like the way Aries is in the first house, Taurus is the second, third house is Aquarius. No. What's the third house? I don't know. And then it goes Cancer, Leo, Libra, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. Yeah. So, so I don't know. Those are the things that are kind of coming up for me. So anyway, so this one is about releasing. So for mine is like, you know, that fear of how I show up in the world and present myself, that kind of anything that's there. And some of it is relationships for some people too. You also want to look at where something I want to say about Virgo, but I can't remember what. Oh, it was a Virgo lunar eclipse. That's why. So look at where Virgo is in your. So then Virgo for me is relation. No. That's where's my Venus in Virgo and Mars in Virgo. So that's also relationships for me. Weird next day, like I had a hangover. So I would look at honestly, like look at where your planets are in your chart. I don't know enough about astrology, but I do know there's a big connection with it because even when I was doing this with Victoria, she was doing a lunar eclipse talk or presentation. She has a different name for it. That sounds nicer and like more professionally and stuff. But she was sort of talking about my distractions. When she goes, "Oh, can you see how this affects you?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I could see this, this, and that." Like just getting like letting go of things, like naturally going out, because it's my Virgo. My Virgo is like, about like organization, executive function. And my north node is also in Virgo. My south node is in Pisces. It's like they're opposites. And so like I have a lot of wisdom in the Pisces area, which is all your intuition and like spiritually stuff. And like just need to somehow like, and like teaching all this stuff, like I need to like bring it forward into like this kind of thing. So it's like about releasing stuff and moving into it, really. So figure out what's in your Virgo and like how that sets up for you, because your Virgo may not be your sixth house. Mine is my sixth house. So that's like about, organization and like bringing things to like the physical world and into physical reality. So like getting my community shit started. And I realized like I have that. So I have very black and white thinking in many instances. And you think, Anna, no, you don't. I do. There are rules in my head. And so like this idea of like doing a daily card pull in my head, I'm like, it should be every day. Like it should be fresh for that day that I should do it. And like really logistically, that's probably not the way it needs to be, but I don't want to feel like a liar and do the pull like a week's worth of pull or whatever. And like, be like, well, this is for this day. And like, so I'm having to fight that, but I know that everybody would understand. Like I'm having an internal argument, and this is my brain. Blood moon. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. When I did the thing with Victoria, she didn't focus so much on it being a blood moon, right? Like, oh, it's all so terrible or whatever. It's just sort of like, this is going to be huge periods of upheaval and movement. And like, there's these eclipses are actually going to really affect Elon and Trump's charts. I'll have to go through my notes and see what she said and share them with you guys. Follow her. She's a great creator. She's on Instagram. It's Victoria Astrology. And her website is Victory Astrology. So I really enjoy her take on things. She's very grounded and down to earth in many aspects. She and I are both Aries rising, so I think we probably approach the world pretty similarly. And she's been screaming, the what do you call it? For a long time. She doesn't like Trump either. About, like a national boycott or, a big scale boycott for a long time. So, and really that's probably what's going to, it's interesting because like what's going to save us is actually capitalism in a weird way, because they're not going to want to lose money. Like, yeah. So, feeling weird next. Okay. Hang on. Someone says on a horse last week, then looked again and it was a bike. She was convinced it was a horse and described its color and everything. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, you can have overlaps of time and overlaps of planes of existence and overlaps of, remember that like every experience that's possible exists. It's all at the same time, right? So I don't want to say different dimensions. I mean, you can have overlaps of different dimensions, but like time isn't linear. So it's not even just the timeline from there, but it's like, that's why I think sometimes you can see, like when my kids are like, oh, I saw daddy or whatever in the house. It's like in some plane of existence and in some experience, he's home today from work. And there's an energy bleed through of that for whatever reason. There was an energy bleed through of me in that spot with those men way back when. Don't ask me to quote a time frame because I don't know. Even though like Washington's headquarters are not far from my house. I think it's like a 20-minute drive. So, any other questions? Someone said something. So the blood moon, I just like, I know as much of everybody's like, oh, it means this. I think it's more, I put more weight into the astrology of stuff than I do to like, it's a blood moon and to the fact that it's an eclipse. That's why it is the blood moon, because it's an eclipsed moon. And usually lots of big changes happens with eclipses. So lots of release, lots of shedding of things that are no longer serving you, lots of relationship changes, things like that. And I think she said, if you look back, the last time there was one of these eclipses was in 2008. So if you can look back to that time frame, I couldn't take note. The time that I went to another one of hers, I was taking notes, but my husband was out for the evening, and so, or he was like out, like he was at work still, and so I was like doing dishes, and so I couldn't really, and trying to get the kids ready for bed and stuff. So while I was listening, so I couldn't sit and take notes. Let's see. So this says eclipses in Virgo. Well, it depends on, again, it's where Virgo is in your chart. It's a lot about self-care. Trying to find the year. I'll have to tell you guys another time because I think it could take me a minute, and it's not just popping up. It's just a whole bunch of articles about the. Let me see if I ask it this way. Hang on, I got this table from like 1947. Holy moly, macaroni. All the way through 2050, which I will be living till. My plan is to live to be 104. I might settle for 102, but I'm thinking 104 because why not? Yes, a lunar eclipse in Virgo in 2008. So, and that was on February 21st. So, like she says, one thing you can do is like look at how it affects you, is going to affect you now, is look back in February of 2008 and about 6 months after, sort of look at that time frame. So, February to 6 plus 2 is 8, August. You'd be happy for age 92. I just think, like, listen, if I'm going to go big, I want to go big. I want to be with my kids longer. I love them. We did have a bank crash in 2008. We did. You know what's weird is a couple of years before that, I was dating a guy who, probably in 2006, I was dating a guy who traded money, and like we weren't like serious, so it wasn't like, oh my god, we broke up. Huh. I was like, I got to give you your sweater back. But I saw, like, I don't know if I had a dream or an image of him like scrambling for money, like something like there was going to be a big crash, but it didn't even like connect with me that was going to happen. Like, but I'm talking on a personal level, not on like a big National Geographic type level. I do think what's insane to me is like the markets are so controllable, beyond natural disasters that happen that affect it, kind of thing. Like everything that's happening right now is because of somebody having a temper tantrum and not being able to make a decision, and not wanting, like like these drastic things that really do harm to everybody, and not just, the kind, like not understanding what a tariff is. I'm going to put it that way. And also just like, remember, it's good to be the king, just writing out orders, like thinking that that's how it works when it doesn't. So, all right. Did I answer everybody's questions? Well, I'm going to say goodnight. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. I will see you next week. And be good to yourselves. Obama was elected in 2008. Yeah. But I'm talking about like literally on personal levels. Like he was inaugurated in 2008. He was elected in 2007. Not to be a stickler, nitpicker, whatever. But I try to do that more for my own brain because I'm like, whatever. But I'm talking about this is like on personal levels. If you want to look at how it affected you, don't look at like the big stuff. Really look at on you on a personal level, because I always think like we don't really have control over the big stuff. Like we kind of do, right? But really what you have control over is like your own stuff. And so like you might go through something similar, but maybe weather the storm better this time because you have the knowledge of the time from 2008 is the best way to look at that. Okay. I will see you next week. Have a fabulous week. I'm going to get my shit together because I need to move into being more organized and having stuff pre-prepared so I can do the community for you, and giving myself grace that that's okay to do that. And you will understand. And I'm not a big fat liar if I do it that way. All right. Have a great day. Bye.